Thanks, Brett, for having me on today. I'm happy to be here. First of all, I think to answer your question, I applaud the emphasis the public sector has put on infrastructure and community development during this time. That's been very helpful. And actually, I should take a step back with regard to Revitate and who we are and what we do. We are an alternative asset platform. We focus on real estate, consumer products, and sports with a thread of social impact throughout. And we may be familiar to you. We're launching our fourth Opportunity Zone Fund, Rev Impact. We may be familiar to you under our other name, Revitate Capital. We've rebranded. So I've been working with the tool for a number of years now with OZs. So as we look at investing, then I think the pre-development phase has been difficult during this time. There are a number of things that would make a difference, but as we look at returns for our investors, but things right now are just not making sense with the way the economy is going. So we just don't have a lot of the money to take the risk to make some of these projects work. We still need government. We still need government and philanthropy to help de-risk some of these projects. And I think the other thing to point out is the language that we speak, bringing together the private sector, bridging the gap between private sector, government, and communities. So we're all speaking the same language with regard to lifting up these communities. And I think that one way we've approached doing it is with our Social Impact Council, which, Brett, you are a member. Thank you for that. We have representation from think tanks, from government, a couple former mayors across the country. We're multidisciplinary, bipartisan, and we also have a couple ex-athletes like Josh Childress, who grew up in Compton and is now in development as well. So we're trying to get cross-pollinate, speak the same language, and learn how to work together so we can move the needle forward during these challenging times.
Everyone obviously has constraints, but you also have flexibility, right? There's not a single county that you have to do all your projects on. You've made some decisions already, but you have some flexibility with respect to asset class or size or scope of projects. And so I'd just love for you to introduce your thinking about how it is that you're deciding what to do where, how any tool, thinking around equity dimensions can help with that sort of decision making from a private market perspective.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I think, our strategy has been to focus in on secondary markets across the country. And we have a couple strategies that we work with. One thing that we do is we work with city and community offices to find the best local developers and project sponsors. So that's, we're getting their feedback, and that's a way that we can get information from these communities about what their needs are as we're making our decisions. And then, as you know, Brett, we've been also an early adopter in version 1 of your OZ tool Scorecard, and have used it with every single project from the beginning for the past 4 years. So it's been really great for us because we can see consistency with all of our projects. And at the same time, our entire investment team is trained on the Scorecard. So they know when they're working with developers and sponsors, kind of like what questions to ask. So they are speaking the same language. I actually thought it was really exciting to hear what Sharon had to say about how she's using it. Well, if one of us is bottom up and one of us is top down, like we're coming to people with the same language from different areas. And that's, I think, what we want and what will really move the needle with, helping the communities. So that's kind of how we're using it. And it's been fantastic.
One quick question for Lisa, and then we're going to come to Adriana. Lisa, we got a question in the Q&A that said something around, well, but does this help me understand the financial feasibility? And I would say the answer is no. You're doing all that underwriting separate. This is a social underwriting process. But could you just add any clarity there?
Yeah, I should say, at Revitate, we are for profit. So our number one priority is our return for our investors. However, we take social impact into consideration. So when we sit in an investment committee, we're looking at our preliminary scorecard as one of our considerations. And so it does not solve for financial at all. That's up to the investment committee as we look at the project. And then one thing, Brett, to add into the question that you received with regard to confidentiality of the results, what we're doing still, because this is in, we were in beta testing, we're reporting things in aggregate. We are not disclosing information on a project by project basis as well, but we're looking at it from a fund perspective with our individual funds, and then overall as a company as well in aggregate.